Hello, everyone. Welcome to week 27 for world history, and we are still talking about and starting to talk about the Russian Revolution. And here for a kind of a quick synopsis or a summary or just kind of a general go-to for the Russian Revolution is going to be our assignment number one, and it's called the Russian Revolution Guided Reading. So it's about the Russian Revolution. So we're going to be looking at what happened and what led to a huge change of government in Russia, and that is now why it became one of the largest communist countries in the world, and now it is still sort of not really communist, but we'll talk about that way later. So let's go ahead and look at assignment number one, and that is here. Okay. All right. So the Russian Revolution guided reading is right here, and there's some very specific things you need to do as you answer these questions. But really, it's just looking over the reading. Okay. And so read and highlight key ideas in the reading, and it's about a page of reading, and it's actually breaking down for you. So let's take a look at that. All right, so in the instructions, make sure you complete the following sources and you look at all the things that actually led to the Russian Revolution. And very important, I'm going to even highlight this for you. Annotate, okay? Annotate does not just simply mean highlight, it literally means highlight and write something, okay? So think about some of the things that actually comes up. So Tsar Nicholas, and Tsar means kind of like king or emperor, and so he became Tsar in 1894 and was Tsar until 1917. And if memory serves you correctly, that's actually quite right in the middle of World War One. And so you want to highlight things that are interesting or kind of important or that actually talks about how it led to Russian Revolution. And so this might be helpful. So that's probably a pretty big thing. So in 1905, okay, Tsar Nicholas, he was already trying to keep revolution away, meaning that they were trying to overthrow his government. And so in order to keep his decision means remain king or emperor or whatever like a czar actually is, but I guess he was the, the king of that time, he was forced to accept a parliament, meaning that people were uh, supposed to help them make laws. And so he was supposed to kind of create this parliament. And yet, he still lost positions about like 12 years later. And so you might actually write something here and say something like, and so you're going to just highlight and then make a comment like, how did this keep Nicholas, okay, from losing his position? He did lose it later. Later. So what went wrong? Right? And so that's actually a good way to highlight. Make sure that you kind of type something in and think about like what led to the revolution because this was a change already coming, and there was nothing Tsar could really do or Tsar Nicholas could really do to kind of prevent it. And what was worse, there were people that were really actively trying to make this a reality and kind of hurting his position. So kind of think about that. And as you read through this, do you think Germany had a hand in it? Do you think, well, definitely Lenin or Marx, okay, communism had a hand in it. So there were a lot of things that kind of led to, I guess, the Tsar Nicholas losing his power and eventually losing his life. All right, not to ruin anything for you, but as we talk about like Russian history, the interesting things that come up are like Rasputin. There was this crazy like folk healer or something. He was a monk and he was considered to have mystic powers, and Rasputin is part of like Russian history as well as the lost princess Anastasia. Anastasia was Nicholas's daughter. One of his, she's like one of his like six daughters, and then he had a son. So it's very interesting, kind of get into it. You can always kind of go in and um, research some of more of this history because there's actually a little tidbits that just seem like, wait, how do we fill in this missing pieces? Because Russia and the revolution has been like uh, a source of fascination for a lot of people. Okay, because of such crazy things that happen in it. All right. So after you kind of highlight, you need five highlights. count them again, 5 highlights. Okay, and definitely 5 comments to that. So that would make 5 annotations. All right, so make sure you do 5 annotations, highlights, and comments. Okay. All right, so the questions, however, are actually fairly self-explanatory. The only key thing about this part, which is actually something called the vocabulary, I would like you to do this in your own words, okay? Define and highlight terms uh, using your own, sorry, put that in there, using your own words, okay? And I'll actually put that into your paper later. But make sure you use your own words. And these are kind of the important ideas that we talk about. We talked about communism, Duma, I just explained. This one is going to be kind of tricky. Bolsheviks is not hard. And then I think you have an idea what Soviet means. So think about it in your own words. And the next part is the timeline. And these are the 2 major parts that are a little bit tricky. For the timeline, you need an image. Okay, so don't forget that something happened in 1905 that was important to, I guess, this revolution or like these people, the Bolsheviks, they're called Bolsheviks, taking charge of Russia. So it wasn't just like, hey, here, Bolsheviks, you have the power now. It was several things. It was a civil war. There was what happened to the czar abdicating, meaning he gave up power. He didn't just decide, hey, you know what, you like I'm gonna die before. No, he didn't fight for it. He literally just gave it up. He abdicated. Okay, so the czar gave up his power, and all of these things kind of happened in a row. So the first one probably would be the this creation of the Duma. So think about that. Why would the Duma kind of lead to the Bolsheviks taking charge? And it was really because the Duma themselves were doomed. A little joke there. But just think about how that is important. All right. So put that in there and think about an image because in 1905, what happened in 1905? This happened in 1905. And why do you think that's actually important to the Bolsheviks taking over? Okay. So you got to read the whole thing before you figure that one out. Okay. Alrighty then. And the last 3 questions are short answers, and just think about how you could actually help kind of do that. The probably the definitions, and of course the timeline will probably take most of your time, but make sure you also refer back to why these events led to the Bolsheviks and the Russian Revolution. Okay, so the key thing is how and why did the Russian Revolution occur? All right. So any other questions, please go ahead and email, or you can actually come to 10:30 to 11:30 on Wednesday for our office hours. I always get people coming in during that time. So make sure that you allow yourself to kind of wake up and actually go and maybe actually get some work done. Okay. If you have any questions, you know where to find me. All right. Thank you guys.